Welcome back, everyone. I'm so excited you're with us on 33 Founders today because I'm here with my friend Mike Townsend, the co-founder and COO of HomeHero. Thanks so much for being with me, Mike.
Yeah. Thank you, Jen. I'm really excited for today.
So as always, it's fun to get to chat together, but we have a special reason to be here today, and that's because HomeHero just announced your brand new Series A. I don't want to describe it. I want you to describe it and tell us about your partners.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. It's really exciting for us. We originally raised about $3 million, close to 8 months ago, back in August, and we didn't really disclose that at the time. We just felt like we were going to kind of stay under the radar. It wasn't really newsworthy, kind of in our opinion. We wanted to just really crank and grow under the radar and just kind of build out our market here in Los Angeles. And we've just been growing like gangbusters here in LA. And we raised this money, this $20 million, to take what's working here in LA and bring it to new markets. So for us, it's a really exciting time to just, take what works and really impact the world in a much bigger way.
You guys were working with the Social Capital Partnership and the Launch Fund prior to your Series A. What made you want to keep them in the HomeHero community?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they're really a great group. Chamath is the founder of the firm. And then there's other guys that work with him that we've worked with and girls. And they're just a great group, really smart with how they think about growth. Strategically, they've been really helpful for us in helping to position the company. And to have them on again as investors in this next round is really special. So they're especially good in growth stage, which is where we're at, in taking something that works and then really duplicating that in as many cities as possible. Chamath, essentially, along with Mark Zuckerberg, I think those were the two guys that were at Facebook the longest. And if anyone at any company could see growth, it was Chamath. He ran it from essentially, I think he joined at like 15 or so. Don't quote me on that, but he grew Facebook to what it is. Essentially, all the international growth, a lot of that was his, and they really have a good mind for culture, some of the more softer skills that we don't see very often, and how to think about hiring the right people and how to think about building an environment that people really love to work in and really shine in. So those were some of the unique characteristics with Social Capital.
What are some of the milestones that you guys needed to hit before raising your Series A?
Yeah, good question. We sort of think of them less in terms of a quantitative and more qualitative understanding of how we grow, particularly with a two-sided marketplace. With us, we have the caregivers, the heroes as we call them, and then we have the families on the other side. And we felt that if we were extremely confident in our acquisition model, how we find both of those people and how we sort of absorb them into the HomeHero ecosystem, for the caregivers, that would be go through a screening process, which is an online screening portion, phone screening, in person. We bring them in, and having that portion be really efficient. So we looked at sort of the cost per acquisition of both sides of the market and said, if we feel really confident that not only is this a really good number and that it's financially feasible to scale, but also that we're confident that we could duplicate it, that's really a good indicator for a good time to scale out. So that's really where we were.
I think what distinguishes HomeHero so much today is how differently you guys are approaching senior care. From the outside, for me, I see your video and I think, oh my God, I feel so comforted that my grandparents are going to be with individuals who I trust. But when you're exposed to what senior care really is like, it magnifies HomeHero to a huge extent. Can we run through a couple of things that are happening right now that you guys are working so hard to improve?
Yeah, sure. So there's two experiences. There's the side from the family, and then there's the side from the heroes, the caregivers. I think it's interesting to note that the existing world for the heroes, the caregivers that work with us, you kind of have to compare what we offer compared to what they would get alternatively at other companies and sources of work. A large part of the work comes from word of mouth or Craigslist or Care.com, some of the job listing boards. But then there's a lot of agencies out there, the brick and mortar incumbents, and a lot of them use paper timesheets. It's a really slow process for not only getting paid, but getting the next job. There's a huge lack of transparency in this fragmented market. So, if you think about your own career, you have things like LinkedIn to develop essentially a leveling up process for your career as you go from job to job. Well, that sort of experience doesn't exist for these caregivers. If they do a tremendous job working with a client, then if that client, say, passes away or goes into an assisted living facility, or they move on to stay in the home but have a family member help, either way, the caregiver doesn't really have a platform to stand on to say, I delivered an amazing experience for the last 6 months with this client. And unfortunately, that's kind of been the way that it has. And a lot of these folks, they won't get paid for over 20 days. They'll fill out a paper timesheet, they'll send it in the mail, and then it'll get reviewed, hundreds of miles away. And then hopefully they get a check back in the mail, and then they drive down to the bank and deposit it. But for a lot of the lower income demographic, which is a lot of these caregivers, they don't have the luxury of waiting 20 plus days to get paid. So with us, the fact that we have a completely electronic dispatch payment system, it allows for them to check in, check out, receive payments automatically in less than 2 days. And for them to have that history and that shifts archive of all the payments automatically sent to them, that's just an absolute huge changer for us. So if you look at long term, like the vision for us on the supply side is to say there's a huge baby boomer generation, and it's going to be really difficult as a country for us to satisfy the needs of those seniors, as they become of age where they need some caregiving services. So the reason why caregiving is the fastest growing job in America is just because of that, right? There's this huge need, but it really doesn't even meet the need. And I think the reason why the ecosystem's imbalanced is that the job experience of a caregiver traditionally has been really sort of negative. It's not, it's not a prestigious occupation. It's not something that traditionally has been viewed as a very enjoyable occupation. And unfortunately, that's because of the logistics and operations behind payments and scheduling. It's not because of the actual work itself, because that's extremely gratifying for people. So if we can make an impact in the world and have people get more excited about it because the payment and everything else is so easy, that's a huge, huge win for us. Long-winded answer, but...
Well, I think that's what really comes through when you're watching videos from the caregivers on the site, because it doesn't sound like a job. Mm-hmm. It sounds like something they're waking up every day so excited to do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. It's funny, we look for these career caregivers. So a lot of them come out of nursing schools. They'll come out of places from referrals from other heroes on the platform. And when you meet them in person, they're just amazing. I mean, to hear some of these stories and why they're doing what they're doing, a lot of them have either moved from other countries to be here, and some of them are doctors in other places. And they've taken this profession really out of a love for helping seniors. And boy, it's just when you meet enough of these people, it's just you're driven to help them, right? They need kind of infrastructure to stand on. So, we do these in-person orientation sessions where one of the general managers will meet each one of them and ask them about their past and why they do it. And we record these videos, which for the family's experience is just awesome. Huge. Because then they can see, you kind of picture your grandmother and you're like, that would be a good person for her, and she would really enjoy working with her.
You do that. I totally do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
It's so exciting as a big fan of HomeHero to see you guys dominate the LA market, because back when we spoke in September, that was Kyle and yours biggest goal, was to dominate the LA market before moving anywhere else. You guys are about to hit 1 million hours of senior care. How does that feel?
It's awesome. It's really awesome. It is remarkable to see that number. I mean, visually, coming from a point where a year and a half ago we launched, it was, we were excited about getting the first foot in the door and getting the first caregiver activated. And to think that we're at 1 million hours so quickly is just mind-boggling. I mean, if we're going to fast forward and think where we are in, the next 18 months, boy, it's amazing to think of the potential impact that we could have. So, I mean, all the credit goes to the team that we have and the culture that we have with the folks on board and the engineering support and everyone else here.
I know the next chapter, which I'm excited about, San Diego, so we'll be able to see each other more often, but San Diego and San Francisco. Tell me a few things that we can expect from HomeHero.
Yeah, so we're in Los Angeles, all over the county, and we recently launched San Diego. We're now focused largely on growing the supply pool there, and we'll really start turning on the marketing soon. San Francisco is what we're pushing in the next week to 2 weeks. So in the Bay Area is a whole tricky market in of itself. But we have an amazing general manager up there. So what we do first when we launch a city is we'll go in and get a great pool supply of heroes, and then we really start marketing to the families up there. So I'm excited. I mean, I love the Bay Area, and California in particular would be really great to have all three of the major metropolitan areas locked up.
That lends to a great insight you just shared on 33 Voices. Oh, I just remember that. It was on 33 Voices. But you were explaining that for marketplace expansion, just that it's important to have the supply first, and then once you are going into the place, you want to have you want to distinguish between first-time users and experienced users, both on supply and demand. Can you tell me why that's so important?
Mm-hmm. It's a good question.
It's your question, so.
No, yeah, no.
You're good.
I flatter myself. So the first-time users have a real experience with hiring caregivers. They've done this before, and they sort of know exactly what they're looking for. So they're going to be the ones to take the quick path. What's interesting I learned about Uber in particular is that there's never a first-time driver and a first-time rider. There is a first-time driver and an experienced passenger, or experienced driver rather. So they always have a reliable source to collect a reference or a review on that experience. When you send both people in that don't know what they're doing or haven't done it before, you just increase the risk of there being not disputes but just confusion. So that's something we're really conscious of, is matching each side for the first time with someone who's more experienced.
There's a great insight on scaling from Bob Sutton over at Stanford. He says that the hallmark of successful scaling is knowing when to hit the brake so you can scale faster. When I read that, it reminded me of Kyle and you, because you could have immediately launched nationwide and said, let's just see which county is going to be the best for us, but you didn't. You have that discipline to make sure you owned LA, come into San Diego, and now San Francisco. Why was that important?
Yeah, it's a good point. I think that came from the last company that we were at in FlowTab, where we made that mistake. We were in San Francisco, and then we launched in Denver because we had a partner there. And you kind of, at the time, you kind of get into these relationships with people in other cities, and it feels like a good move. And it's really difficult to, like you mentioned, hit the brakes and say, no, this isn't a good move for us, even though we could get a base hit in this other market. Geographic expansion strategy is really important, particularly in rejecting the notion that you're going to make exceptions based on relationships you have. It's a really challenging thing that a lot of companies face when they think about that. But kind of sticking to your guns on what cities you want to go city by city with is super important.
Lends to an insight that Chamath has shared before, that he feels one of the most important traits for a founder to have is immense discipline. Both of you guys have that. For you in particular, how do you cultivate that, especially in that moment when you have a relationship somewhere and you think, maybe this could be the next big market?
Yeah. How do you Yeah, that's a good question. I think it just comes down to being honest with people. I mean, if you can be as transparent and honest, internally we have a culture of just extreme transparency and honesty, and it just really yields, it really attracts great people. So we carry that with outside partners, vendors, relationships that we have outside of HomeHero. If we're going to really live by this mission of making a positive impact in the world, that if we can carry that relationship with partners and saying, look, this is how we think about expansion. If this doesn't work for you right now, let's keep the relationship alive, keep it great, and then when the time does come to move into other areas that you're in, we can rekindle that conversation. But I think just transparency and being honest with people, and not sort of, it's easy to bait and switch, especially with partners that are interested in expanding, or they have incentive on their side. It's just important to just be transparent with people. I think that goes a long way. Life is long, and those things generally come around. So that's really helped us.
Got to be prepared.
Yeah, totally.
I'm excited to dive into culture because I'm so fascinated with the way that you guys run everything at HomeHero. In particular, when we met back in September, I think you guys were 9 people. You've doubled now. What does it feel like coming to work with a bigger team, especially so quickly?
It's great. It's just a lot more energy. Yeah, it's awesome. I love everyone here, and we have a really special culture. There's a few things that we did last year when we took a team retreat. And one of the most important things we got out of that trip was to define the core values. And I think a lot of companies think about those things and they even write them down, but they don't truly live them. And yesterday, one of the guys on the team said to me, transparency is something that other companies prophesize and they claim they have, but here it was a real switch for him. And for him to tell me that he was uncomfortable initially with the transparency that we have internally made me feel like we're doing the right thing. It basically says, look, if you're in the engineering team and you want to join at a weekly meeting for the sales team, you should be encouraged. When you jump in there, you don't have to say anything, but just to passively listen in on other teams' meetings, other departmental meetings, is just a real sign of the true transparency that we have. And people do that all the time. And what that yields is a really, I hate the word cross-pollination, but it's across different departments, people give ideas. Because you're online all day, you're looking at different blogs, and you see a little hack or an app or something, and you're like, this would be cool for the sales team to use. And then, the client advisor team is what we call them. So then you'll send it over to them. And if you're in support, you might have an idea for an engineering tool that you've seen. And it's really special to see people get excited for other departmental successes. And all of that just goes into transparency. So we use the tool Slack, and we have different channels, and people message in every channel, so everyone could see everything in different channels, which is great because a lot of people just read the engineering thread if they're on, marketing, and they can see what's going on and encourage people and give them virtual high fives. So that's been a really special ingredient for us. The only other thing I was going to mention is that we do these project-based campaigns. So internally, we really emphasize and push people to come up with and explore ideas. And then as founders, Kyle and I will talk to them about how to turn those into reality. Dream it, plan it, and then do it. And a lot of people have really taken that to heart and actually turned really exciting ideas into reality, which is just, it makes it that much more exciting. It makes a really productive environment.
So are you guys big on one-on-ones?
What we do for one-on-ones is a quarterly 360. So we'll sit down with every person on the team, and it's as short or as long as they want. And it's really a time where they can tell us where they want to realign their career path to make sure they're personally and professionally happy. It's a time where if you are in whatever department you work in, and you want to take a class on Udemy or Coursera or anything, and you want to learn a particular subject, a language or a JavaScript course or Portuguese, that we can support you personally as a company. That we want to make sure you're in an environment where you're happy and you're productive. So we try to arrange those more frequently, and usually they're shorter, but usually just a good dedicated time to say, are you as happy as you possibly could be here? And people really seem to appreciate that. And I think in larger companies, you lose that sense of touch with employees, and it's unfortunate and a little unnecessary. So that's been really great for us.
One of the great things, this is what I was going to say, that you guys do that I love is your idea teams. Can you just say a few words about that?
Yeah. This is an idea we had.
Great idea. I love this idea.
So essentially what it is the best way to communicate what each person does and share ideas on different departments. So internally we'll have a support team, an engineering team, a marketing team, growth, and then client advisors, which is kind of the sales team. And together each one of those have, say, 2 or 3 people on it. And what we do is each week, we'll do it weekly or bi-weekly, we'll have one person from each department get into groups of 3. So you have like one engineer, one marketer, and one person support, and they'll get together and they'll spend anywhere between 30, 45 minutes together, and they'll just talk about what each other does during the day. So, if someone on our team says, this is what I go through, these are my challenges, this is I set up my either development environment, or these are the products I'm working on, or this is the person in support and these are the challenges that they see, they can really share ideas because they have different backgrounds. So you could say, if you're an engineer, hey, we could build a quick tool that would solve this problem that you spend 2 hours a day on. And we've seen those things happen, which is really exciting because that's that otherwise wouldn't happen. They would just go on forever, So it's a good time to personally get to know each other, but then share what you do throughout the day to really encourage idea sharing. So I don't think I've seen that anywhere else. That was something we kind of came up with internally, but that's really special. I personally look forward to it a lot.
How have your processes evolved to make for a more responsive team as you've grown?
Responsive, as in,
The ownership mentality, so it's not a customer
mm,
service problem or an engineering problem, it's a home hero problem.
hmm yeah. One thing is that I think communication is a big thing. So if you can communicate publicly. So for Slack, for Slack is a great tool, particularly because it just allows us to communicate the issues that are going on in different departments, challenges, opportunities, and it allows other people to jump in. So I'll frequently, go through at the end of the day and just read the conversations that are going on, and then I'll, jot in some advice or suggestions I have for different people. So this kind of, what it does, it kind of pushes people over bumps. People are kind of stuck on something. If we're going to send a survey out, we're debating what survey platform to use, or we have a feature that we want to build and we're not quite sure how to build it. People can just jump in and say, "Oh, here's an idea," or here's a user interface I like. It just encourages that sort of idea sharing again, which, if you're back on email, is just really hard to do.
When it comes to thinking of the future, I know that you guys are very adamant about hiring and you're expanding. Tell me about some of the new individuals who are coming on the team and dive into some of the traits that I know you guys have the 8 traits that you look for when you're hiring. Can you emphasize a few of the ones that really are important?
Definitely. We're in the office now. We have all 8 of them in
They're great. I
posters
love them.
printed across on the walls. They just mean a lot to us. One of the biggest ones is transparency. One is sort of delivering above the bar. So if we set a bar for you, to say that I see what you want to do, but just to have the passion and excitement to do something better than that is really appreciated. Another thing I think that's really special is that we appreciate and respect, give credit to the execution of projects and campaigns, not the result. So it sounds like a nuance, but for instance, if we're going to send postcards out, this is something we did a long time ago. It's more about the planning of how do we do it. Where do we get the addresses from? Where do we get the people from? What areas do we send it to? What affiliate code does it have on it? All those sorts of things. And then if the execution is perfect, the results shouldn't be attached to you personally. So if we get no calls or signups, it doesn't matter. That's a high five either way because we learned. Rather than say this is a success because we got a great result, it's a success because you executed it well. And that's that a lot of companies kind of they fall into a trap of praising the output, but I think you should praise the execution. So you're equally proud as if the campaign failed. Great, you learned something from it, and that just gives people a lot of confidence in working with the next project and idea. Transparency is another big thing. We just constantly tell people be as humanly transparent as possible when you speak with clients and caregivers and internally. So
One of the things that's always stood out to me about the way that you guys run your business is how adamant you are about celebrating your team members, about celebrating your heroes, and you just alluded to that when you said praise the effort. Don't worry about the outcome, just praise the effort that you put in. Why is the celebration and recognition so important to the way things work?
yeah, so I think there's different types of appreciation that people respond to. Some people like the physical touch. Some people love to be hugged. Some people love the public appraisal, right? Saying the good job publicly. Some people like gifts, right? So people they sort of receive love in different ways. And for us, it's just a matter of understanding that and recognizing it, and just living by it. So, someone likes to be publicly acknowledged for great things they do, like do that, say publicly, this was awesome. Like, I love this feature you built or campaign you ran or whatever it is. And it just makes people happier. And then they reciprocate that with others. So, Kyle and I do nothing more than just like build a snowball and push it down a hill. Really.
All right, last question. One of my favorite stories that I've read recently was from Anne Miracle when her dad told her before she was starting as a research assistant at Yale to remember to be world class. And she started thinking to herself, like, I'm filing papers. How can I be world class? But she learned quickly that everything you do can be done with a level of excellence. And that's something that's very, very important to you guys. As you move forward, how are you going to ensure that that level of excellence in the HomeHero brand expands to every city that you go to?
Yeah, boy. So
No
I think
pressure.
it's, yeah, so I want to be, I want to make an impact across the world. And if we do this successfully, we'll be in many, many countries in the next few years. We have all the potential in the world to do that. And if we don't get there, honestly, it would be not living up to its true potential. So we just think about, how do you be consistent, right? How do you not sort of get sucked into the glamour of running too fast? So just, I think, focusing on one foot in front of the other and building campaigns and building, projects in your day-to-day is the most important thing. And for us, we really just emphasize that. It's all about appraisal, right? It's just saying what's appreciated. Is it the huge, spectacular partnership, or is it just the incremental progress? And I just believe so strongly in appreciating the incremental progress. And I think if I've learned anything from the few years I've been alive, that if you just keep pushing and be honest and work hard at it, you get to the finish line soon enough.
Well, it's working really great so far. Before we go, can you explain how individuals who are looking to A, become a caregiver can get started, and B, looking for caregivers?
Yeah, definitely. So the families they would go on. So if you're looking for a caregiver, you could just go on homehero.org.
Super easy.
Yeah, we have thousands of caregiver videos. We have all the profiles, a really easy process to find. Contact us if you need it. And if you're a caregiver looking to turn into a hero, then we also have an easy application process online. Right now, just active in California, but you can still sign up and we'll notify them when we launch in their city or area. And then internally, we're always looking for really smart, ambitious, and passionate people that want to make a big impact in the world. So we're always hiring for just about every position, frankly. And I just encourage, if it's something that you feel passionate about, don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Awesome. And they can keep up with you at his Twitter handle is Mike T. Townsend. I always tag the wrong Mike, and I think he's starting to get very annoyed with me.
Let's get that guy.
So I'm gonna have to ask him to change it so I can just simplify.
Yeah, Mike at homehero.org is also a good email address.
Awesome, Mike. As always, it's so special to have you, and I'm super excited that we got to share this news, and I will hold you to another interview soon so we can catch up on it.
That'd be awesome. Thanks, Jenna.